This is the best monitor I've used ever. I mean, it's Samsung's newest gaming monitor, so it should be the best, right? This is the 49-inch Odyssey G9 monitor, and this thing is epic. When I was testing this monitor, a 55-inch came out as well, which is pretty awesome, and I didn't get a chance to see it in person yet, but I can only imagine. But there has to be a limit to monitor size, right? No? Let's talk about this 49-inch. And typically this monitor is $1,800, but at bestbuy.com right now, it's actually discounted. So of course, use my links down below because there's always discounts on these products, and I try to update it with the best link possible, and I get a little kickback that definitely helps my channel. So the way this works is I don't talk about specs too much because we can discuss specs all day long, but that doesn't give you the true experience. I've used this monitor as my main monitor for 30 days, and I'm gonna tell you what I ran into. Some of the good things, some of the bad things, and some of the questionable things. First of all, the design is absolutely stunning. Samsung design language is all over this thing with svelte edges, bold design choices, and this perfect curve that complements the size of this monitor. At the perfect sitting distance, you'll feel immersed in your content. I do think for 49 inches, you do need a pretty large desk. And if you didn't have that curve, then you need an even larger desk. But I think with that curve, you're able to get away with just a standard large desk. It's done so well that I played games with it in the full screen mode, and I didn't feel myself moving my head to keep up with what's going on. Typically in the past, I shrink the display to play games, but full screen was great for me. This monitor is all white, kind of like a Stormtrooper, but I would have loved a black option too. Now this did look pretty good on my setup, but for people spending this much money on monitors, they may want it to match their setup. And if it comes in all white, that may be clashing for some people. We do have an array of ports on the back of the monitor. There's DisplayPort, which I use to connect my MacBook via USB-C adapter, HDMI micro, and HDMI 2.1 port. It does support HDR10 as well, but no Dolby Vision. Also, what I enjoyed about it is not a super heavy monitor, so moving it around wasn't a problem at all for me. I do love the idea of lights behind the monitor. However, a big drawback is that you quickly forget about them since they're not visible unless this monitor is pressed up against the wall and it's completely dark. If you do want lights, I still recommend getting a Hue setup as they get much brighter and you have more options. A little bit costly, but when you add them to a setup, I think they look really great. This is a QHD monitor, which is 5120 by 1440, which isn't exactly 4K. And at this aspect ratio, this does lead to black bars around content if it's not designed for this ratio. Also for videos, you're gonna have the black bars too. Now, not all games loves this format. The games that do love it looks really great, but then you throw in a game like Cyberpunk for some reason, doesn't support this resolution with the patch I was currently using. So it sort of looks stretched out, but then you look at a game like Battlefield, or you look at a game like Call of Duty, and it looks really great, and it just gives you more field of view and not stretching out your content. For non-gaming activities like video editing, spreadsheets, or having tons of windows open, this is a great monitor for screen real estate. It really feels like you have a triple monitor setup with just this one monitor. This may be overkill, but for the right type of person, and a person that would use 3 monitors, maybe a real estate agent or an accountant or someone that's like trading stocks or just that hardcore sports fanatic that wants to watch games on multiple displays, you can do it here with just one display. This monitor also has impressive speakers built into it. Now don't get ahead of yourself. I mean, they're impressive for monitor speakers, right? And they do sound pretty good. But any speakers that you're gonna buy off the shelf for 50, 60, 70 bucks are gonna sound better than this. But in a pinch, these can be okay speakers too. I prefer this than my closed MacBook for what it's worth. So for me, it was working out pretty good when I don't feel like wearing headphones when editing video. When it comes to gaming for the past month, I'll tell you that I am legitimately sad now that I have to send this monitor back. The colors, the responsiveness, the everything is so good on this monitor. It's so immersive, and it makes any game that takes advantage of the aspect ratio feel much better. It supports FreeSync and G-Sync, so PC gaming and even next-gen consoles will be super smooth as well. This monitor also runs Samsung software called Tizen, and it's what you've seen on TVs previously, but it has it baked into this monitor. It comes with a remote when you want to access it, but you can also use your mouse and keyboard to interact with it as long as you're plugging that in directly to the monitor. And you also have Game Pass built into it too. So if you don't want to use Game Pass on your PC or you don't have an Xbox, you can still access Game Pass Cloud and play games over the internet using just this monitor. This monitor also has built-in apps, so you can then use split view. So I can have my desktop on one side and then have like YouTube or have a Samsung web browser or any other Samsung apps as a second source. Now you can't have two computers plugged into it like a KVM switch, which I think is a big disappointment. Anything this large, I would love to have two separate sources, but there is kind of a workaround using their apps. And being transparent, I really don't like using native apps too much. I'm more of being on the computer using the web browser, but that is my personal preference. For apps, they are really responsive and I don't have a problem with them per se. When I'm on the computer, I just prefer the flexibility of using the web browser on the computer instead of launching those apps. Regardless of the cons that I mentioned, this monitor is absolutely the GOAT. If you're in the market for the 55-inch, then I'm sure this monitor will have everything the 49-inch has, as on paper they're pretty much the same. As always, a big thanks to Samsung for sending this monitor out, and use my links down below if you're interested in picking one up. Kevin the Tech Ninja, have a wonderful day. Talk to you guys later.